Hi everybody, I'm back again. So this is the second video we're going to look at today for week 2. That would be MLA Formatting Guidelines. So you can see some of the stuff I covered in a previous video, or the status bar, working with comments in Word, and here were some of the keyboard shortcuts that we learned. Control Home will bring you to the top of a Word document, Control X to cut, Control C to copy, and Control V to paste. I didn't actually go through those in detail, but it is part of the material from Word 2, Module 2. We did cover Control F to find, and if you remember, because it should only have been a minute ago, it was for me, Control F will bring up the navigation pane. And you see that I did search for lead, but it doesn't occur in this document. So I'm just going to close the navigation pane. The other thing that we want to do is work with section 2.2, which is the MLA formatting guidelines. So here are the things that are listed in the textbook. So this is actually using what's known as an inline citation, which refers to the textbook written by Schaefer and Pinard on page WD 95. It's a little bit unusual because of the way the textbook numbers their pages, but this paragraph of text I've taken directly from another source. So I didn't write these words myself, I just typed them into the document. So I have to give a reference or a source for where this information came from. And that's the purpose of using the References tab up here at the top of the screen. So under References, we'll see where we can do things like create a table of contents that keeps automatically updated. We can have footnotes, which are not part of MLA directly that I know of. We're not going to look at it today anyway. We use inline citations instead. There's citations under this bibliography section. So make sure you switch your style to MLA. So our bibliography style could be APA if we were in psychology or the humanities. For scientists use a lot of IEEE formats. We're looking at MLA. So depending on your version of Word that you have, it might say something different, but the computers on campus should have MLA 7th edition. So we're going to leave that set as MLA 7th edition. So what I can see here is this whole piece of information is automatically generated for me when I created a citation. So I can look here, I can edit the citation, I can edit the source, and I can update the citation. None of that's really changed right now, but I will see that at the bottom of the page I have what's known as a bibliography. So the bibliography stores all of my sources so that I only have to type in the name of the textbook once. And let's say I had some other information that came from the same text, but maybe a different page. Then I can just say insert a citation, and I have a whole reference collection of sources here inside my Word document. And actually, it's part of all the Word documents on your computer. So when you add a new Word document, you should have access to these sources. I think that's how it works anyway. If I click New, it's just going to say it's from Schaefer and Pinard. Now sometimes I could right-click, can edit the citation, and I could include the year. This has actually suppressed the year. It's not actually showing the year for some reason, but I'm going to leave that for now. Oh, this MLA doesn't show the year. I think APA would include the year. There, I've just switched all of my sources to APA, and you can see it has the name of the author and the year of that book, instead of in MLA, which is what we're using, it's just going to say the name of the authors and some page numbers. So that's pretty much all I wanted to do. But again, I didn't type in these round brackets, and we can see that by holding our mouse over that shaded area means that it's some text that's automatically been put there. Now later on, I went into and created a bibliography on the bottom of my page. So if you follow the instructions in the text for practicing that, and if you've gone through the training, then you'll see all of that inside SAM. So a couple things about the MLA format is that first we got to make sure that we double space the entire document. That's part of the MLA format. Remove paragraph spacing from the entire document. Increase the font size to be 12 points, which is interesting. It's got to be 12 points. I'm actually zoomed in to 148%, so it's going to look a little bit different right now. Indent the first line of each body paragraph ½ inch from the left margin, and add a page number preceded by your last name in the upper right corner of each page. And if you prefer, you can omit this from the first page. Now we'll look at page numbering and all sorts of things as we go on. So we'll just go through a couple of the exercises. We look at this document that's been provided for us called ancient.docx. So you can download that from Sam in the source files. And we can see this is a two-page document. It's got 862 words. So this is like a very small essay that we have to kind of add some formatting to. So one of the things we're going to do is apply some MLA formatting. So I'm going to make the spacing 2. So I Control A, and on the Home tab, I'm going to go into Paragraphs, or I don't have to. I can actually choose line spacing, which is this button right here, line and paragraph spacing. Set that to 2. And then I can click that button again and say remove space after a paragraph. So you can see that if I just leave it normally, that's changing the spacing. So even with 1 spacing, you can see there's a gap in between each of the paragraphs, but we're going to remove that. It used to be set to 8 points. If I just click remove, there, now there won't be a space in between paragraphs. So that would have removed some of the space here. And I can go show and hide paragraph marks, and that allows me to see where all the paragraphs are. So some of these headings are actually a single paragraph. We can format those as headings a little bit later on. We also want to keep everything selected, Control A, change the font size to 12. Now everything is size 12. And in the first paragraph of the document, we're going to change our name. So I'm going to take her name out. I'm going to just type Mike Henderson, use your name, not mine. And I can see, remember that I turned on autosave. So it's actually saving my file right now. And if you have a slow network, it'll take a while. Both my kids are watching YouTube right now, so it's using up my bandwidth. And then you see it's been saved. Otherwise, you can just click the button and it'll also save. But again, you'll just have to check that it doesn't take too long. Now we want to indent the first line of each body paragraph. So indenting a paragraph is pretty simple. The first one being throughout history. We can move the horizontal ruler to the first line indent. Well, there's a lot of different ways I can do this. But what I'm going to show you is the different indent markers or paragraph markers that we see. They're indent markers. You see this one at the bottom is the indent marker, the left indent, and we have a hanging indent and a first line indent. So this might be a good time for me to switch over to another document I had created, which shows you different types of document paragraphs. Indentation. So here we have, I've got my paragraph marks turned on. I got 5 different paragraphs, and they're not set to different formatting yet. So this one, I'm going to take the left indent and move it over. So you see that a left indent takes all of the lines of a paragraph and moves it in from the left margin. Then I'm just going to go move down to the second paragraph. I can use the cursor keys to move up and down, the little arrows on my keyboard. Now I'm in my second paragraph. And if I move the right paragraph marker, the right indent marker, sorry, I can drag that. Oh, that's the margins. Let's undo that. There, I know I'm dragging that one. See how I can move from the right? That's a right indent. And for block quotes, we would sometimes do something called a double indent. So I bring maybe an inch from the left and an inch from the right. That's called a double indent. There is also what's known as a first line indent. So we see this one. This brings the first line of the paragraph in by ½ an inch. You can see that everything else is out-dented or back-dented. And down here, I can change that a little bit or just go kind of backwards. So I'm going to take everything, move it in by ½ an inch, and one of these markers here, the hanging indent, I'm going to pull it back. Oops, no, that goes the other way. I'm going to take the whole thing, drag it back. Notice how all 3 of them move at the same time? I'm going to take that first line, and this is now indented by Oh, nope, that wasn't it. I'll leave that there. I'm going to take this one. There we go, my hanging indent. See that? Put my mouse over that middle gray shape at the top. And now the top line is outdented and the other lines in the paragraph are indented by a little bit. So those are different types of indenting. So now we've stopped playing around, or sorry, not playing around, I stopped showing you the different paragraphs and the indenting. Now we want to go through and put a first line indent of 1/2 inch for all of the paragraphs in our MLA formatted document. So I can just put my insertion point at the front of that particular line, and I can move the first line indent button, the indicator, it's more like an indicator. I can just click and drag to the 1/2 inch. So that takes care of that. That's one. And then I find another paragraph. So that would be after the paragraph indent marks, which are the paragraph markers. So in this paper, I can do that again, but there's also a repeat formatting. And if I click repeat formatting, no, it doesn't do anything in this case. So I'm just going to fix the formatting. I'm just going to move the indenting. Move the indenting by 1/2 inch. And then I come down here. Now this is a new heading, so I'm not going to play with that right now. So where it says Neolithic settings, Neolithic settlements, I am going to, oh yeah, just underneath Neolithic settings. Oh, it says I can apply formatting again. Oh, see, it worked the second time. All right, the third time, I guess. Then there's another paragraph around BCE. And we can do that for the rest of the paragraph documents. Oh, now it won't let me repeat again. Move that in. And so notice that it's only working on the first line because it is the first line indent. Boom. And it doesn't have, it only works per paragraph. So it only affects a single paragraph. And for all the other paragraphs, I have to go in and do that. Yeah. Be careful not to indent any of the headings, which are also part of the instructions in the textbook. So there's another one. Well, maybe I'll speed this up for purposes of the video. And here we are on the last paragraph, and we're done. Now the next thing I want to do is modify and insert the page numbers. So holding the Control key and pressing Home, which it doesn't exist on Mac, so Windows only, you can go Control Home. Although on a Mac, if you use Command Up, I think it brings you to the top of the page. We're going to do the Insert tab. So on the Insert tab, there is a header and footer group, and we usually have a page number option. And so I can click on the page number options, and I'm going to choose top of page. But if I wanted to remove page numbers that were already there, there's remove the page numbers, and there's also a way to format the page numbers. I'm not going to do that right now. Under top of page, there are some different styles, plain number 1, plain number 2, and we're going to choose plain number 3, which is for the right. And so it applies that. I clicked it, and now I'm typing to the right of the, to the left of the page numbering. So I'm going to type in my last name, and I put a space bar there, and I click the space. And if you do see a wavy line for your last name, just right-click and ignore all. That way it'll stop checking the spelling of your last name. Select both the page number and my last name, and in the mini bar that shows up when you do that, sometimes it's actually this one, then I'm going to set that to 12, which again is the size of all the text on the document. That's not strictly required for MLA, but some instructors prefer it. And click the page number to display its gray background. So that's what we're doing. Also, again, going through the textbook in these options. Scroll down and observe the page numbers. So there's page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. Control Home, back to the top of the document. And on the Design tab, so now we're in the header and footer tools. which is like a group of a new tab that creates called design. It creates a new tab called the design tab, which you won't see unless you're in the header and footer. So it's header and footer design tools. Then I have the option for different first page. So then I can totally remove the page numbering from the first page, which is fine. And we could add something different to the page numbering of the first page, but we don't want to in this case. Then I move up here where it says close. I know some of you just double click on the body, but I can even just close the header and footer to return to everything the way you expected it to be. Go back to the normal part of your document. Now we've done everything we need to. It says to create some citations. So we're going to increase some citations. So we're going to go on to the References tab. And we're going to make sure that we go to MLA, because we are going to use the MLA style. Control F to open the navigation pane. And find a phrase that appears at least once. So we go here and we type as at least one historian. And it jumps me down there. And so now I know where it is. So at the word standing. So it's getting kind of tricky now to be at the end of that paragraph. So I'm just going to go back to the Home tab and hide my paragraph markings there. So I'm at the end of the paragraph, and I'm going to insert a citation. So I'm going to close the references, and I'm still at the end of that sentence after the word standing. Oh, but it's going to be before the period. So the citation in this case is going to go before the period. Some stations, some formatting will have it appear differently. I'm going to go to the References tab up at the top. And you need to add a citation that informs the reader that the historian named Brower did this. So what we're going to do is insert a citation. And we're going to choose Add New Source because we don't have any sources. So in this case, it actually, your sources are per your document. They're not stored externally in Word. Maybe old versions used to do that. So we have a book. The author is named Roy Brower. And the title of the book, if you press tab twice, you'll get there too. Settlements of and monuments in Neolithic architecture. I don't know if that's a real book. It could just be made up. And in the year is 2010. Then the city is New York. Publisher Brookstone and Colescott Academy Press. Finally, you need to indicate the medium used to publish the book. The medium is actually a document. So we're going to type print. It's print document. It's not a website or anything like that. So even this, the information, we're going to hit OK. There. So it looks like normal text, and I indicated that earlier, but now it's called, inside this section called a content control. You can see the content control itself only when it is selected. So stuff like that. That's the content control. You can do different things with it. So we want to edit the citation, which is click once on the citation and then choose Edit Citation. You can change the source, you can change the citation. You could type the page number. So it was on page 37 and hit OK. You might be able to hear my cat in the background. It's almost time for him to eat. And then we could go on and add 2 more citations of different types, but I think you basically get the gist of that. Actually, I will pause it and insert a second one so we can see the final bibliography created. All right, welcome back. So I just finished adding a second reference to an article, actually a journal article by Alicia Garland. So this one here is a page number. It says it's in page number, page 142. And because the reference already tells us that it was written by Alicia Garland, I don't have to have the name at the end of this. So if I edit citation, there was a suppress author and title. So don't put the book of the title of the book there, and don't put the author because it's already been talked about earlier in the paragraph. So really, to learn the ins and outs and the intricacies of MLA formatting, one of your profs in an essay writing course will help you on that. We're just learning how to do it inside Word. But we can see we've got our reference there to Brower, and there's another one to Garland, which this time doesn't mention who wrote it, but now we can refer this in piece of information here. The Neolithic societies of Central Asia mastered the art of creating bricks made of mud. That's according to an author named Garland. So we could then look at her book by going down to a bibliography, which is what we're going to create next. Now, way down at the bottom, or not even way down at the bottom, we get to the bottom of the page, and I can actually go Control, oops, I'm not searching for stuff, Control End, no, yeah, Control End, or just go page down. And you notice when I press Enter, it now copied the formatting of the previous paragraph, which had the indent made, but I'm just going to put that back. I don't need that right now because I'm going to insert a page break. So we're, Control N to get to the document. Insert page break. So there's a group of different types of breaks here. I'm going to hit a page break there. So it creates a new blank page. So I'm now on my 5th page of my document. And if I choose a different view, you can view or delete manual page breaks from a different view. If I choose View Outline, whoops. Oh, it wasn't outline. Let's close that one. It was View, show hide paragraph marks. Nope. View draft. No, it wasn't view draft. Nope. We'll look at that some other time. I'm just going to go back to print mode. There's actually a special formatting code where you can see where the page break got entered. We just don't see it right now. It might usually appear when we do this. Except I didn't. Oh, there it is, the manual page break. Because we have these paragraph codes shown, I can then just delete this, and I wouldn't end up having. Oops, that just deleted the backspace. There, I can delete that, and now I don't have a page break. There's empty paragraphs at the end of this document, but I can choose Insert Break. There, and now I have a paragraph starting at the beginning of my document. That's great. Okay, we'll leave it there. So we're going to add our bibliography. So under references, so this is really the important tab when you're doing all sorts of referring to other documents and creating citations, and I choose bibliography. Because it's MLA format, we choose bibliography. You might be asked to do references or works cited, but we're going to choose bibliography. You will notice there's an insert bibliography group here at the bottom. That just gives you more options, but if we just click the default one, then we automatically get our sources added, and it's all taken care of because we already entered that information earlier. And if I ever enter more sources, then I can simply refresh my bibliography. So you see that it's also in a content control. And I can update it, and everything's been updated already, so I don't have to do anything there. So we can modify sources, we can edit a source in the research paper, so I can choose, I can actually just go up to the resources, references, go to manage sources, and here's a list of the sources I have already. And actually you can see that I do have a source available from the last document I had, right? The reference to the textbook by Pinard and Schaefer, but I have a current list of the sources that I'm using for this document. So Word somehow does keep track of all the sources you've ever used sometimes. So that's good to know. But for now, I'm not really going to go through any of that, making any of those changes. The other thing that we're just going to do, steps for finalizing the bibliography to match MLA for the works cited list. There are some other changes that the textbook would have you go through, but that's essentially all I wanted to show you, and that's pretty much it on all I have to say about documents, I guess the MLA format. Now, if this was actually a Word document, then we might come here and format those as headings, but I'd have to look this up, and not, because I'm not a specialist in the MLA format, is that I could format those as headings. And now, just a neat little thing, if I go Control F to navigate, and I looked at headings, then I have the Neolithic settlements and I have the bibliography, so I can jump to those sections using the navigation pane. But because this is an academic paper, we probably have to put that back to normal text, and all we have as headings is our bibliography, which might have to change to citings, cites, works cited, or something like that. What's it called? That is actually a works cited page. So if there's any questions, feel free to drop me an email instead of not sending it to me through my learning space, or sorry, my Econ Astoga. But hopefully this answers all your questions. Thanks. Have a great week.